Welcome to the Raging Heart On podcast. Warning, this is not your Nana's Bible study. We're here to get raw and real with our fucking feelings, and I am here with my friend Six. This is so exciting for me. Emmy award-winning, you guys know Six from TikTok and the show We're Here on HBO, which Six won an Emmy for doing the makeup.
I sure did.
For that show.
Hi, babe. How are you?
I'm good. I miss you.
I miss you too.
I do. I miss you.
Phones just aren't enough.
No, we talk, but yeah. When's the last time I saw you? Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Nashville. Yeah. So we met right before you got your Emmy. Mm-hmm. We met in Italy and hit it off day one. Spent an entire week together in Italy, and I got to know a side of you that, you know, we love Six and we watch Six and she's hot and she's cunty and she's rock and roll. But I know you, and there is a really sweet, kind person behind all the makeup and all the hair. And, you know, I actually had started watching you on TikTok. Before I met you, I came up, introduced myself. I was so excited you were on the cruise. And then, we just hit it off.
Isn't that wild?
Vibed immediately.
Yeah.
And
instantly.
So it was a good trip.
I mean, I talk about it all the time with people who weren't there. And I say to people all the time, they're like, what do you think of those cruises? And I said, if you would have told me that I would ever do one, I would have told you you're absolutely insane. And when I did them and I started meeting people, and those people that I met were like, I was bonding with people that and having real life relationships outside of the boat. And like, it's been 2 years now.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was, I was a different person on that boat.
Oh, honey, I know you were. You were a couple different people. You were a couple different people on that boat.
Oh my God. I think about so many funny things that we saw and did that week. From
it's wild, but that's
on
what
the top deck, and
that's what those cruises are for, is to find connection with people. It's the reason why we have social media. I think that of course you can do all types of sideways things and find loopholes to, make it benefit you in a negative way or have a negative experience.
Oh, there were definitely people on the boat using their loopholes in really weird ways.
Oh, honey, I saw loopholes I had never seen before.
Gaping loopholes. But I always heard, it's whatever you make it. It's whatever you make. And we made it a really special week, and it was really cool.
Yeah, such is life. So,
tell us a little bit about Six behind the makeup, behind the drag.
Well, I think that I'm still that little kid that grew up without a mom and grew up without a dad. And I think that there is so much that I've had to experience alone, and I've had to make a lot of mistakes to get where I am now, but the kid in me is such a strong, stubborn, tenacious little fucker that he's not going to allow his situation to cause him to be a victim or allow himself to claim himself as a victim based off of his circumstance or situations. I've only succumbed to being a victim once, and that was when I was out there using, when I was really fucked up on drugs. And
which was how many years ago? How long have you been clean now?
I've been sober now. It'll be 7 years on September 2nd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And what a life well lived since sobriety.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much of me, prior to sobriety that wanted what I have now.
Okay.
And then there's part of me that still continuously kicks myself up and down one side and the other to just, you know, independently punish myself for all of the mistakes that I made while I was out there using. And I don't know if that'll go away. There was so much time lost and so much love lost and so much that I experienced out there that I wish I never would have experienced. But at the same time, you know, my grandfather told me when I was a kid, he said, you know, if you point a finger at someone else, you've got four more pointing back at you. And I always said, that's not true. You have three more pointing back at you. And he was like, he said, well, you're getting into the technicalities. And I said, the technicalities matter. Can you point your thumb at yourself when you're pointing your finger at someone else? And then he was like, yeah. And he did this. But I'll always carry that around with me. And it's meant so much to me in my life, not only when I was a kid because I didn't really understand it, but now that I'm an adult, and especially in the world of social media and what we put each other through on social media, what we put ourselves through on social media, it's become really valuable for me to see how much those words still stick with me and resonate in different ways. You know, for everything that we want to blame someone for, there's so much that we learned from that person by watching them make the mistakes that they did publicly, being vulnerable, being open to being vulnerable. I mean, we're not perfect people and we're not meant to have a perfect experience, but we are meant to have a human experience. And for me, the human experience is what I'm after. So there's grace and there's love and there's kindness and there's compassion and there's understanding and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like that cruise. This life it's whatever you make it.
Yeah.
You know, like you can spend your whole life looking outside or talking about how scary the world is or, you know, how disconnected people are, but it's everything you make it. And that's with everything in life.
People talk about how disconnected people are, again, pointing the finger, not realizing that they themselves are also disconnected.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime we're judging somebody, this is something I'm learning, you know, in real time. And I've been learning this year is when I have a judgmental thought, just sweep across me. Immediately I go, what am I projecting onto that person? Like, why does that person's actions get under my skin? And sometimes it's just, you know, seeing someone that's so delusional that thinks they're going to succeed. Why does that bother me? And why am I projecting by judging that person? You know, that delusion may just be what it takes for them to succeed. And
of course, but
it brings up a fear in me that I'm afraid I'm delusional. And so
that's what it is. Anytime you're projecting that on other people, what you're actually doing, see, we as human beings, we're mirrors for one another. So we match energies. And from the very moment that I met you, we matched energies and we got along really well because we matched each other with the same level of kindness, compassion, and respect that the other one was showing to us. Now, had I met you on that last white party, we might not have had that connection. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't know the music was going to end. Bitch. Ma'am, let's move on.
Yeah.
So, no, you know, I remember we had a moment because that week you were leaving to come back to LA to pick up your Emmy. And
just swing by the Academy of Arts and Television.
Yeah, and you were, the whole week, it was almost like I watched you be excited and in disbelief. And we had a moment where I just looked at you and I went, hey, I'm really proud of you. And I saw like this little boy that needed to be told, I'm proud of you. And it's because I'm a dad and I have a little boy. And I just needed to remind you in that moment. And it's because I've been there. Like I've had that feeling where you feel like you've done something great.
Yeah.
And you're fighting imposter syndrome, and you're fighting your past, and you're fighting this little kid that doesn't believe in you because he can't trust you, that's inside you. And yeah, but I think the biggest lesson is I remember telling you, you should be really proud of yourself. The most important thing is that you take this in, you feel it.
Yeah.
And
It was wild to me. I had experienced some trauma that I didn't know was coming my way prior to that news.
yeah,
And it broke my heart because I had given so much of myself to the love of this industry and my craft. And I just have always wanted to feel purposeful and necessary. And I feel there's a contractual obligation for me in this world to create beautiful things and to see beauty where most people wouldn't even look for it.
yeah,
And it does translate in through the art of makeup, but it also translate into costume design and hair and wardrobe or styling or just getting into the inside of who we are as human beings. And my job as a human being is to find the beauty in all things. And there was a moment where I saw no beauty, and it terrified me. And I almost walked the absolute opposite direction because I didn't want to be a part of it. And I
yeah,
said, one day I'm going to be able to make a difference, and people are going to be able to hear my story. And I won't have to destroy another human being in order to get my point across. I will have just succeeded and survived. But I was
yeah.
really lost when that happened. And for me, when you said, I'm really proud of you, there were two people that did that week. And the first one was, actually, there were three. The first one was Willem. He texted me and he said, hey, I know your life and I know what you've been through. And I know that this is all seeming like really crazy and it's going to go by really fast. I want you to enjoy it. But more importantly than anything, I want you to know that I am so fucking proud of you.
Mhm.
And I just lost it. You know what I mean? I still think about the feeling that I had because you meet people along this road that have those shared experiences and they see you and what you're going through and they think of it on the flip side. I didn't know that I needed that love. I didn't know that I needed that recognition. And then again, when we were on the boat, I got to hear it from you and I got to hear it from your partner. And, I just said, now is when I get to start rebuilding my family. And I
Yeah,
think that that's probably one of the reasons that we bonded so quickly. You made it such a safe space to exist in your company. And the third point was the third person was my brother. I chose to take my brother with me to the Emmys because
look, I'm getting chills because that was so fucking beautiful to me,
yeah,
that your brother went with six
yeah,
in all her glory
yeah,
and was your date to the Emmys.
yeah. I called him and I said, Paul, I love you. And I know that we didn't have the upbringing that we would like to have had, but we have always been brothers. We have always been connected on that spiritual level. And he has always championed me. He has always rooted for me and cheered me on. And although he didn't understand the things that I was going through, because he's a very simple, smart individual, he's very entertained by what I do for a living. Very entertained. He thinks it's very entertaining. um, there's no stability in it, and he craves stability, and he doesn't. I
Yeah,
think he doesn't understand why I would choose to chase something so inconsistent when we've had the upbringing that we've had, and for the reality of it is that it's all I know.
yeah,
But I took him to the Emmys and he turned to me when I got back with the award and he just looked at me and he had tears in his eyes and he said, I am so proud of you. And I can't, you know, without tearing up too much. I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to have to talk about it.
Bitch.
You know, there's the big brother in me that grew up, and I just felt like a failure as a big brother, you know? I felt like I had failed my brother, you know? I was just trying to survive. And I left him, you know, to deal with the repercussions of the life that I ran away from. I left him and I left my sister because I wanted to survive. And I left at such a young age that I always carried around this guilt, you know, like maybe I could have made things better for them, or what if I would have made it worse, you know? But he looked at me and he said, "You did it all right." And I was just beside myself because in that moment, all was forgiven. He never had that animosity towards me, and he has always looked up to me as a big brother. Yeah, my life is crazy, and yeah, the things that I have been through, I don't think anybody would want to go through. But I think that he sees the strength in me, and I think that
Oh, yeah.
he admires that. And he has never been. It was just wild to me to see my brother in that space being so tall and so
Yeah.
proud with his head held high in a suit, you know, at the Emmys, you know, meeting people that he sees on TV. And he was like, whoa, oh my, like he was silently freaking out. And I was so depleted and so run down from what I had experienced, you know, months before. I was so dehydrated, I had to go home immediately after accepting. But he went home with me and he took care of me. And, you
Oh,
know, I just, it made us closer. You know, I know that that's a long, drawn out version of saying that
no, I love it.
I love my brother, you know, I love him and I'll do anything in the world for him, you know? He's
Does he
just,
live there near you or?
he lives in Cleveland. You know, he's a military guy. He's a 9 to 5 desk guy. He's very
Yeah.
much an accountant, if you will, you know, like an actual accountant. Like he is very business, and we're very different, but we we have a love for one another that I don't even think we have to share. We don't even have to share it in words. It's just that is my brother, and I'll do anything for him, and I know he would do anything for me. You know, speaking of which, you know, my brother contacted me last week, and he said, "Hey, Jared," he said, "I'm coming next month to Vegas." And he knows I won't do the cold weather. I just won't do it. I don't like putting myself through that cold experience. But he said, "Hey, brother, I know this is really short notice." I'm like, "It's a month away. It's not short notice." He was like, "But
Yeah.
you know, again, you know, contributing to the fact that this man does not want to bother me, you know?" But he said, I'm going to be in Vegas for a week and I would love to see you. If you can make it happen, I'd love to see you, you know? And I said, great, where are you staying? And he said, I'm staying here. I got off the phone, I booked the tickets, and I sent him my room reservation and I said, I'll see you there. And he said, really? And I said,
Oh,
yeah. And he was like, that's really cool, brother. Thank you. And I was just like, again, going back to how people show up for you when you said, I'm really proud of you. My brother, I don't think, has had people show up for him. And thank God I'm sober and I'm able to be in a position where my life, as inconsistent as may appear from the outside, I am consistently well taken care of. And I can make those choices now to show up for my family and for my brother when they need me to. And it's just an overwhelming feeling. You know, recovery is such a beautiful story.
oh
It's
yeah.
such a beautiful story. For many people, I'm sure his variation of what I've been through or his variation of what he's been through with me would be very different, but also very similar.
Hmm.
You know,
Well,
because,
because he's looking through the lens of his experience, and isn't it
yeah,
crazy how two people can be family, can be related and blood, but so many factors relate to your experience, and your experience is how you're going to view the world. I was talking to a guest right before you that we were talking about the inner child and healing the inner child, and you can't fix it. Like, those wounds are forever.
Yes.
The thing I'm learning to do is to build a trust between me and little Brian inside me.
Yeah.
When he's freaking out, I lived such a messy life when I was
On that
in my
boat.
early 20s. Girl, stop. No, I mean, it was bad in my early 20s, but it took many years, not just living a messy life, but in bad relationships and making bad decisions for myself emotionally. Like, little Brian didn't trust me, and now I'm healing and he's able to trust me.
But just like
I
those
still let him
wounds,
down.
yeah, I mean, but I was just going to get into that. It's just like those wounds never fully heal. There will always be a remnant of where
Yes.
the opening was.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a work in progress, and the way that you deal with it is much differently now than the way you dealt with it before. And you're going to make mistakes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just think that is like learning your story and watching you on the boat working with not just you, but some of the most talented people. And
Yeah.
I remember one night you were pulled up on stage and your story was sort of told, and we just happened to be there. And it was, yeah, like watching the magic happen for you and watching you realize a full realization of how far you had come. And it was all happening right there when we met you, from
Yeah.
being
Well,
pulled
I
on
wanted
stage to
yeah, I wanted to travel the world, and I was working with Todrick Hall and still do to this day. That man has afforded me all the experiences of being able to see the world as it really exists. And I'm so grateful for that experience. I don't know if I would have seen as much of the world or ever had an opportunity to see the world the way I've seen it through his eyes. And he is someone that is not afraid to share his spotlight with someone. And when he
yeah,
learned the information, I, of course, told him prior to the information being public knowledge. When the information came out and it was public knowledge, he then took the opportunity to share his spotlight with me on that cruise ship and explain that, this human being, again, it goes back to being a human being and having the ability to recover and make up for lost times and bounce back. I mean, listen, awards
well,
are
and being
just,
able to recognize those holes in another human being and being able to be present enough to make those wounds a little softer, because obviously for him to recognize those wounds in you, I didn't look at you and say, I'm proud of you, without having my own history of
of
needing
course.
someone to say, I'm proud of you. And for him to speak into your life the way he was doing, I mean, obviously comes from the same situations or same wounds in some ways.
That being said, I want to take this like second really quick to tell you how proud I am of you for going through all of the things that you've been going through recently and choosing to find an outlet to help you through it. And I think, like recovery, that I have learned is that helping yourself first starts out and first looks like helping others. So you're creating a platform to give people the space to talk about their experiences. And I think that you're going to find a lot of healing in doing this. And
Oh, yeah.
there's so many people that turn and walk the opposite direction, and you're choosing to walk directly through it. And that is heroic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's vulnerability is messy at
Yeah.
times, and authenticity is to trust the universe when it hasn't been trustworthy, because you just would rather be real than fucking be fake for the rest of your life. Like, 40 more years, maybe. I'm 44. I'm going to be 45 years old. So, I mean, it's
I don't know if
long.
it
I'm going to
looks.
be in
I think.
diapers.
I think you're giving yourself a little bit more than what you're gonna get, honey. You maybe have 10, 15. So,
Four more years.
honey,
And
you know what? We don't know. We don't know.
I'm wearing diapers today, right
We
now.
know. We
Hold,
know.
hold for a moment.
No, I mean, I think the most amazing thing is that it's tough when you live in a world where most people would have just turned their back and walk away from you, and then you're left to
Hmm.
deal with the repercussions of your mistakes alone. I think one of the most beautiful things in the world is the fact that you've got someone that's willing to stand beside you
Oh,
and
yes.
say, I love you through this.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yes.
don't want to tell you how to live your life, but I would say hold that person as close as you possibly can and make that person your number one, you know?
Absolutely. Like, it's crazy how you can be with someone for 9 years and get to this crossroads in your life and the mistakes that come with this crossroads and just all the layers of it, and to connect in a way that you've never connected with each other. Like, authenticity changes every part of your life and relationship, and vulnerability, like, really is the key to like better sex, like better relationships, better everything, like letting go of the mask,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
showing your ugly parts, like
Yeah, I mean,
showing.
to a certain extent. I mean, I think that there's being vulnerable for the sake of being vulnerable, and then there's being authentically vulnerable.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah.
think being authentically vulnerable is a really beautiful thing. And then I think just letting your ass out to let your ass out is, you know, clicks and views, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm talking about sharing. When I was at my fittest, when I was in those photos back behind me, that's the time I had liposuction.
Hmm.
Like, at my smallest is when I had a full body liposuction, wake up from the lipo, and the doctor say we really couldn't remove much. And me being pissed that he didn't try hard enough because I was so delusional in my view of myself. And then I go on that cruise and I was a hoss. I mean, I was
Boss halls.
hoss. But girl, like, who knew the kiddos were into that now? I
I
was
mean, but here's the thing.
I was like, I have starved myself for so many years and these kids won't get off my big ass.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
but there is a security that happens when you learn to accept yourself. And I
yeah.
think that it's not the physicality, it's the person. And I've always been a person who is attracted to someone, not somebody.
Yeah. When I think people can look at you, I mean, you're in great shape. Six is beautiful in every way, like fierce, and you are beautiful. Beautiful body, but just immediately getting to know you, I realized that that was not your identity.
Mm-mm.
Like,
It's just like
I mean,
every single tattoo I have. It's armor.
yeah.
It's
And
stay away from me. You know, I have been so traumatized by the absence of control in my life that it has turned
mhm.
me into a really ridiculous control freak. Um, and I wouldn't say like a control freak to the point like I can't let things go, but as it pertains to me and my person, I want to control all of it. People are like, just let go, girl. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. If I can't be in control of the outcome, I'm not going to give somebody the reins to my health, my happiness, my safety. No way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
No.
I love this. I'm so glad you agreed to do this with me, for
I'll
me,
do it
as a
anytime.
friend.
We can do it.
And
We can do it. We can do 100 more if we live 100 more years. We can do it every year. We can do an
well, like you
update.
said, I've got four more. and I'm already in diapers, so
I love it.
I don't. It's hot.
I love it.
So this is, I want to get into a little section we call, Can You Take a Few Hard Ones? This is the time in the podcast where you're going to take a few hard ones. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So
Let's go.
I'm just going to pop them off quickly. What are you afraid of?
Nothing.
When was the last time you felt joy?
This morning. Do you want me to elaborate on any of them?
Yeah, tell me on that one.
Okay, I don't fear anything because I've been through everything. Literally, my worst fears have become a reality for me, and I've managed to get through it. So I'm not afraid of anything. Waking up this morning in a bed in an apartment that I pay for, with work not only today, tomorrow, but I have work for the next 6 months, and that is bliss to me. Knowing that I'm able to provide for myself. It's absolute pure joy.
Who's your biggest cheerleader?
Myself.
I need that. What is the most fucked up thing you tell yourself?
You're too old. Every day.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that spending 10 years of really fucking around and missing basically my entire 30s. Because I just wanted to not be here. So I think being too old is saying that to myself is cruel and unusual punishment, but it just reminds me that I have so much more to do and I've got to do it twice as fast as everyone else. So there's a pressure that
You know what's weird? Martha Stewart did not start her business until her 50s.
Judge Judy.
How fucked up is that?
Tina Turner.
I mean, Martha went to prison, and Snoop Dogg. Like, it's crazy to anytime that I start thinking about I'm too old for this, I think if Martha Stewart can start her business at 50 and be here, bitch, get out of the bed and go.
Yeah. It's really, honestly, it's about telling yourself to get the fuck up. You just got to get the fuck up.
Like, get out of your own way.
Yeah, just get up. Just show up.
What words make you want to fight a bitch?
Words make me want to fight a bitch. When someone says, no offense, but immediately block. Immediately a block. No offense, but.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whose authority are you to even be talking to me right now?
The next time you talk to my sweet little Michael and you want to make him upset and you make him want to fight, all you have to do is go, shh, shh, shh.
What does it for you?
I don't know. What words make me want to fight a bitch? The only time I really want to fight is when I'm driving.
Or when someone stole your sandwich.
I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Like, if you flip me off, I will follow you and beg you to pull over. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm filled with so much joy in the moment I really want to fight. Yeah, so if anything ever happens to me, it's going to happen on the road.
No, but you do realize what that is.
Because I laugh the whole time. It's funny to me.
It's dangerous.
It is dangerous.
It's dangerous because there's no containment in that fire.
And the fact that I'm laughing makes it worse.
Yeah, it's sociopathic behavior.
Nothing brings me more joy than seeing an aggressive driver. Like somebody who's like, pull out in front of me. Like, if there's enough space and you think you can make it and you're going to gun it, like, don't fuck around with it. But yeah, if I see somebody like squeezing a tight spot right in front of me, I'm like, you fucking did that shit, bitch. Like, you're a winner.
It's so wild to me that people...
You're a winner.
It's so wild to me. I think that it's just being a risk taker and being and again, this is why I talk about being in control of my own body, my own person, my own destination. You know, people all the time, they're like, well, I can drive. And I'm like, I have a car, bought it myself, I'll drive. And they're like, well, it doesn't make sense for us to take two cars. And I said, for who? 'Cause I'm not going to be a passenger in anyone's vehicle. I can't do it.
No.
I can't do it.
No. I have to be in control.
Yeah.
It's a control thing. I don't want to be left. And I don't want to have to stay if I want to leave.
Yeah,
I need my car.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that.
So if you could tell the queer community one thing and they would all really hear it, what would it be?
To stop tearing one another apart.
Yeah.
Stop using your words to tear people apart. Start looking for the good in people. Start realizing that we can't progress if we're not learning as we go. You know, we have had many, many fucking years where we did not have a voice. And we get to create those platforms where now we do have voices. So why are you tearing apart people who have made their platform and had voices for themselves? Why aren't you attempting to either create, if you don't like what somebody does or somebody says, create a platform. But stop tearing one another apart. That's what I would say. It's all fun and games when we're in a nightclub or we're Kit Kat in the living room, watching a show or something like that. But we have so much more damage that we deal with personally, professionally, individually, that we really just don't need any more added to it. And so I say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And if you can't contribute to the betterment of the situation, you should probably leave.
Yeah. Yeah. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Thank you for doing this. We're going to do it again.
I would do anything for you.
I love you. I can't wait till you come visit. Thank you for doing this, and we'll talk soon, okay?
I love you, babe.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share with your friends and family. Also, if you have comments, questions, or maybe you want to share your story, you can email me at raginghardonpodcast@gmail.com.